So for today, we will continue on the other topic of risk and contingencies. Again, I will cover on what we call the theoretical and also fundamental part of risk and contingencies, right? Okay, so this is our quick chat regarding the topics for my part, which is previously I have covered on engineering economy topic has been covered for our test just now, okay, in our test. So this one already done for the assessment part for my topics, okay. So today we will continue to this one, risk and contingencies, and the rest I will cover two more topics of cost and benefits and also project monitoring and controlling, okay. Right, so far all of you clear regarding these topics and also assessment? Assessment, actually we have completed just now for my part, okay? So how about the topics? Okay, all right. So without further delay, let me continue, right? Okay, for today, this is several subtopics or subcontents for risk and contingencies topic. So we will start as usual with the overview of risk and contingencies, and also I will cover on estimating and tendering process since it is related to the risk and contingencies in preparing the estimating. And then the next subtopic is on cost estimating process, and the last one will be assessment and submission of cost estimating. So in overall of all of these topics are quite straightforward. So all of you need to understand and remember the flow. For example, the estimating and tendering process. How do we come up with the estimation, cost estimation? Okay. All right. So for the overview of risk and contingencies, we need to define and we need to know the definition of risk. Okay. At first, we need to know the what actually risk refers to. Okay. Basically, we have two definition here, two main definition. First by Project Management Institute (PMI), and then the other one we refer to ISO. Okay. International Standard International Standardization Organization something. Okay. All right. So we have PMI and also ISO. Okay. Regarding the risk, so basically the definition is related to the uncertain event or condition which may cause positive or negative effect to the project objective. Okay. Previously, I think I have shared with all of you related to the project resources and project objective. Okay, so we have typical objectives such as cost, schedule, scope, and quality. So this uncertain event may cause either positive or negative effect to this project objective. Okay, so that's the definition for risk by PMI. And the other definition for risk by ISO is actually quite similar to the first one. Okay, whereby the ISO stated that effect of uncertainty of on objective which signify deviation from expected, also in positive or negative ways. Okay, by accepting the possibility of existing opportunities. So risk effect or risk impact can be either in positive or negative. So the estimator, the planner need to avoid this kind of effect, okay, which is negative. Because if we have negative effect on the project objective, so it will cause several potential issues or problems such as delay in construction works, and then sometimes the contractor need to bear the over budget issue. Okay, so that's why we need to properly define the risk and need to know how we want to control the risk in produce the estimation. Okay, cost estimation. Okay, so the other one is contingencies. In overall, contingencies quite related to the risk. Okay, so they are basically interrelated, and mostly it refers to the contingent event or condition. Okay, so that's the what we call contingencies, and it's related to the future event or circumstances which is possible but cannot be predicted with certainty. So that's why we need to consider contingencies in the cost estimation. So for the direct explanation or definition, in costing or estimating, contingencies refers to the amount of funds added to the base cost estimate in order to cover the estimate uncertainty, which is unpredictable, and to reduce the risk occurrence. Okay, so that's why we need the contingency plan and also contingencies rate for the uh, cost estimate base. Okay, so that's the definition for both term. All right, so the next one. Right, so far, is everything clear for these risks and contingencies?
Yep.
All right, okay. If you have anything to ask or anything to share, you may do so, okay? We can have the discussion. All right, so the next one we have risk versus contingencies, since both of these are quite interrelated. However, it has what we call its own definition and also details. Okay, so in avoiding or reducing the risk occurrence, risk management is necessary. So anything relates to risk will be controlled or we will be managed using risk management. So actually risk management is a big topic for construction project, because the respected parties need to manage and try to control the risk throughout the project life cycle. Okay, so if we compare both of these what we call items, risk management focus on the step taken before any risk occurrence. Okay, however, if we refer to the contingency planning, the steps taken once the risk has occurred. Okay, so risk management can be divided into several sub categories, because we have identification, we need to monitor, we need to control and also monitor. So that's why we have a very big component here, risk management. Okay, part of the project management. And then for the contingency planning, as I mentioned just now, it refers to the amount of money or time needed above the estimate, okay, to reduce the risk. Okay, so basically all of you quite familiar with the term of contingency planning. So that one refers to how we want to prepare, how we want to plan for the what we call for the risky event. Okay. All right, so I think that's all for the risk and contingencies. Okay, so in order for us to clearly what we call relates the risk and contingencies in the estimation, so we need to know the estimating and tendering process in general. Okay, we need to know the overview of this process so that we can try to understand the overall stages of flow, how we want to prepare the estimation, and also how the respective parties, the contractor, want to enter the tender to bid for the project. Okay, so this figure shows the process or the flow starting from the pre-tender, okay, up until the project award to the selected tenderer or contractor. Okay, so if we look at here from pre-tender, we have tender stage or process, and then continue to the evaluation and award. Okay, so the most important thing here is that I want to highlight on this process or this stage. Okay, at this stage, after the pre-tender stage, once the client has express their own interest, their own objective for the proposed project. So they will come out with the tender document to be what we call to be filled in by the tenderer or the contractor. Okay, so any interested contractor or any tenderer will buy the tender document, okay, based on the tender notice or tender advertisement. Okay, they will buy the tender document, and then they need to fill in all the required information, and of course they need to proceed with the estimating. Okay, they need to prepare the cost estimation for the tender process of tender stage. Okay, so what we have here is that this estimation or estimating will cover the cost, time, and for sure the resources, including the materials, the manpower, and also the method of work. So all of this will be prepared, and necessary calculation will be provided by the estimator, okay, before the submission of tender document. Okay, so that's why what we call all of these steps or all of these process are interrelated, and also we need to understand each of these element, okay, so that we know the flow, we know the process. Okay, it is easier for us to visualize the actual practice by the estimator or the contractor, right? Okay, so the other thing is that decision to tender, estimating process, and also submission of tender document are main elements for this process, estimating and tendering. Okay. All right. So the next one, we will try to look at or go through on the cost estimation process. Okay. So cost estimation process is another component. Okay, because during this process, some or many consideration needs to be considered or taken into consideration. Okay, because all of this related to the cost. So at the end, if we try to what we could try to uh, understand, try to connect each of the element. Okay, the allocation of risk, the allocation for the contingencies will be included or will be related to all of this process. Okay, all right, so now we will try to cover each of this process, okay, starting from the programming of project estimation, and then we need to conduct preliminary project study, okay, in order for us to obtain the required or to gather all the necessary information. And then we need to identify the material and also subcontract inquiries, especially the quotation. Okay, since based on the quotation, the estimator will come out with the what we call the correct amount of for the estimation. Okay, and then we need to proceed with the planning of construction method, since this method of work is very important, okay, for the project to be delivered accordingly based on the specification, based on the design as required by the client. And then for sure, the other process, we need to calculate all the resources cost, including labor or manpower, and then plant and machineries. Okay, all of these required to be calculated and also estimated. At the end, we can have a good cost estimation. And besides that, we also need to estimate the direct cost and also calculate the on cost, right? So now I will try to cover each of these process. Okay, the first one we will look at on the project estimation. Okay, this is the first process for the cost estimation, whereby the estimator will be in charge to check all the necessary documents related to the tender document, and then they will prepare the program of tasks to complete the estimate, right? So that they come up with the brief work program with the estimation of the how many days or how many months to complete the project, to deliver the project. And then they will also in charge to monitor the key dates, right? And then we have the other thing is that we have usually estimator will be given about 21 days to estimate the price, to estimate the cost before the tender closing date. Okay, so this what we call this duration or this period is depending on the scope of the project and also the requirement by the client or the employer, right? Okay, so far is everyone okay?
Okay, Doctor.
All right, so hopefully all of you still have energy to proceed with the class after you have test, right? Okay, and then the next process for this is conducting the preliminary project study. Okay, by conducting this preliminary study, the estimator or the respective parties will have information regarding the quantities of work, especially in each trade of work, and then they can have the information for approximate estimate, either using rough or global rates. Okay, so it's depending. And then they also require or need the items to be subcontracted. Okay, so most of the time these subcontract works refers to the any specialized or any works that need specialization or specialty. Okay, so that refers to the items to be subcontracted. All right, and then we have by conducting this kind of study, any other information that can be obtained is materials quotation, okay, including the quantities and specification for each of the works to be carried out, or each of the materials required for the works to be delivered. And then key delivery dates, okay, in terms of the deadlines, in terms of the submission and deadline, and also project completion, okay, expected or the planned project completion. And based on this study also, we can have the design alternative, okay, the estimator and also the team will come out with the alternative to offer for the client in delivering the project. Okay. All right. So this is, I think, the second one. preliminary, sorry, the second process. And then we have, okay, this one, sorry. All right. This one is already the third one. Okay, the third process for cost estimation is related to the material and also subcontract inquiries. Okay, for this process, the main item or the main document that we need to consider is quotation. Okay, so this quotation can be divided into two main quotation. The first one is material, and then the next one we will have subcontract quotation, right? Okay, for the material quotation, it is basically there are variety of the delivery cost and also the quantity discount for this material. So regardless what kind of materials needed, we still have variance of delivery cost, right? Okay, so meaning that the cost is not a fixed cost, so it can be within a range of price for the material delivery cost and also any quantity discounts. Okay, and then for the material quotation, all material specification and also the total quantities to be extracted from the contract document. And we need to have this material quotation because it can, what we call, helps the estimator to come up with a good estimation price, okay, good cost estimation, right? And then we have delivery date from outline construction program, okay. Here related to the how the what we call the estimation will expect or will predict the delivery date for the project itself. Okay. And then in terms of the roles and responsibility of the respective party, here we have purchasing staff. Okay, most of the organization will have this purchasing staff, okay, for the purpose of to gather to obtain the material quotation. So they need to chase the related supplier, okay, who are slow because in some what we call in some situation condition, there are certain cases where there are some delay by the supplier to provide the related quotation regarding the material. So the purchasing staff need to chase for them in order for the what we call for the staff to submit the quotation and pass the quotation to the estimator. Okay, so at the end, the estimator will use this material quotation for the cost estimation, so that it will be included in the estimate price. Okay. However, there are some what we call some situation or problems happen where due to time constraint, because as we know, preparing the estimation, preparing the tender document, uh, the duration is quite tight, and also all of the respective parties need to work very hard within that limited time frame. Okay, so that at the end they can come out with a good price and also good submission for the tender document. Okay. However, in this certain case, the estimator, while waiting for the while waiting for the purchasing staff to get or to obtain the quotation, the estimator may assume the prices or the cost for materials, and then they may proceed with the cost calculation. Okay, at the first place, because if it's taken too long of the waiting period, and then they can proceed. However, later on, before they finalize the prices, they finalize the estimation price, they need to readjust the calculation once they receive the actual quotation. Okay, so at the end they still need the actual quotation of the material. However, while waiting for the quotation to be available, they can proceed with the preliminary or brief estimation. Okay, so at the end they can do the readjustment for the prices. Okay, so that's regarding the material quotation. And then the next one we have the subcontractor quotation, right? So basically for the subcontractor quotation, the rates of subcontractor in estimation will include allowance for attendance and other services. So later on, I will share what kind of allowance refers to these two. Okay. And then during this, what we call this stage, this process, profit can be added during the estimating stage, meaning that profit allowance can be included into the estimating price, right? For the case of nominated subcontractor, the profit and also attendance allowance will be added during the tender meeting. Okay, meaning that this kind of cost or this kind of amount will be added later on, right? And if we compare this subcontractor quotation, cannot what we call in terms of the estimation or the calculation, the estimator cannot make any assumption like the material quotation. Okay, they still need wait for the subcontract quotation for them to proceed with the estimation. All right. In overall, this subcontractor quotation consists of lump sum and also profit allocation, whereby in this quotation, material, plant, labor cost has to be added at the end to produce the cost rate. Okay, that's why they need to wait for the subcontractor quotation as compared to the material quotation. Okay, so far, is it clear? Okay, all right. Okay, so the next one still on the subcontractor quotation. For this one, we have we try to look at on the decision to subcontract. So basically, this is just a general information. I think most of you already aware with this one. Okay, subcontractor quotation. Okay, relates to the decision to subcontract. Okay, how the main contractor, decide to subcontract the works, usually depending on the specialization and also type of contract. This is two main factor or two main what you call items that the main contractor consider before they decide to subcontract the works. Okay, and then this subcontracting is actually a big what we call big concern, because it is very important in avoiding any risk of indirect loss to the main contractor. So that's why the main contractor need to properly select and also properly control on the subcontractor, so that they can control the overall progress in terms of the financial and also the physical progress, which is the percentage of work done. Okay, so they need to properly control and select the subcontractor for the works. Okay, because mostly the due to delay and disruption of works by subcontractor will affect the main contractor. So that's why this consideration is quite important. Okay, because it relates to the offset financial risk, and also, as I mentioned just now, relates to the progress of works in terms of the financial and also physical progress. Okay, Okay, at the end, we try to avoid any problems and we try to reduce the potential problems, such as the most common one is delay in construction project, right? Okay. The other things related to the subcontractor quotation, as I mentioned previously, related to the attendance and also required services allowance. Okay, so we can divide this allocation into two main category. The first one, we have general, and then we have a special allowance or allocation. Okay, general allowance related to the use of temporary works, okay, such as we have scaffolding, we have formworks, and then the other facilities required on site, storage space, lighting, and so on. Okay, that one will fall under the general allowance or allocation. And then we have special allowance, such as provision of labor as stated in the contract. So this one, the subcontractor need to properly comply, okay, follow all the requirements under the contract. Okay, if they are required to provide the specific type of labor for the specialized work, then they need to do so, because it is already stated in the contract. Okay. All right. So the next one, we have the other process for cost estimation. Okay, the next one, we have the preparation, or the what we call the planning for the construction method. Okay, this one is actually related to the method of work. Okay, how the contractor or the subcontractor want to execute or construct the work. All right. Okay, the main purpose for this construction method or method of work is actually to choose the most efficient and economic construction method. Okay, that's why we need to plan properly related to this construction method, and all of the alternative need to be included in the tender document. All right. So related to this one, it is quite necessary or required for the site visit here to be conducted in obtaining this related information, such as detailed site description. Okay, once we have conducted the site visit, we can foresee any existing services, ground condition, and we can know the access to the site. All of this will affect the site planning and also site layout. At the end, they will affect, or they will relate to the method of work, okay, for a specific construction activity. Okay, and then method statement. Okay, method statement is basically the same with the method of work, because this statement refers to the how we want to detail up the method of work. Okay, so we need the method statement. So we need to plan and we need to prepare for this. Okay. Usually in this method of statement, we have the description of work execution with the details, labor, and plan required. Okay, so this one is mostly on the planning side or planning phase. Okay, for the manpower, for the construction machineries, okay, required for the specific construction activities. And then what we call the other subcomponent for the method statement, the respective parties can provide the pre-tender work program, okay, as a inclusion for this method statement, right? So they can refer both method statement and also pre-tender work program, right? Okay, so in general, pre-tender work program refers to the simple work program. Sometimes they just prepare a simple one using bar chart. Okay, depending on the scope of work. If the works are big and also large project, complex project, So that one we need to prepare it by using specific software, okay, such as Microsoft Project or Primavera to prepare the work program, okay. And then the other thing is that this pretender work program will be referred by the estimator and also the planner, right? So that's why we need to prepare it together with the construction method, okay, or the method statement, all right? Any detailed information included in the tender document submitted to the client is actually depending on the degree of the competitive bidding. Okay, it's depending on the size of the project, depending on the nature of the project, right? So the detail or degree of the information provided varies depending on this factor. Okay. All right. So that's for the construction method. How we want to, why we need to include this preparation for the construction method. And the other thing is the estimation for the labor and plant cost. Right. So for the labor cost, it's usually relates to the this we have two categories. The first one for civil engineering works, and the other one we have building works. So it's depending on the type of works or types of project to be conducted. Okay. Okay, for the civil engineering, we have the common manpower or workers that we need is laborer and tradesmen. And then for the building works, these three types of workers are the common labor that we need to proceed with the project, to construct the project. Okay, so we have, for sure, we have the other detailed types of the labor requirement, depending on the types of the project to be conducted or to be constructed. Okay, and then for the plant cost, we have several option. Okay, this one relates to the construction plant and machineries, okay, the equipment required for the project. So we need to consider this as part of the cost estimation process. Okay, most of the time it can be hourly or weekly cost depending on the requirement for the cost estimation and the size of the project. And then plan rates usually can be divided into three categories, since we have several options to either to buy, to hire, or to lease the plan. So the rates depending on the method how we acquire or how we obtain the plant and machineries, right? And most of the time or generally, the contractor will keep this record for plant hire rate, okay, to be used for the estimation purpose, right? So I think that's all for the labor and plant cost. So this one should be the sixth component or the process number 6. And then and then the next one we have estimation or calculation of direct costs. So this one 5. And then this next element or next process is estimation for the direct cost. Okay, so basically this term, if you still remember, I have shared previously on our previous topic. Okay, we have direct and indirect costs. Okay, hopefully all of you can differentiate what's actually direct cost and also indirect cost. Okay, so that it is easier for you to understand the types of costs, and at the end it is easier for you to apply into the calculation especially, right? So here direct cost rate includes rate for labor, plant, material, and also any subcontractor works. Okay, so that one will be fall under this category, direct cost. Okay, about the indirect cost, you may refer again to the previous slide. Okay, and then for the output rates, meaning that for the production times, in calculating the direct cost can be obtained by the operational rate or unit rate estimating. Okay, so this is the method how we want to obtain this kind of rates, and also the information to be included in the estimation. So if I'm not mistaken, this kind of estimating technique has been what we call, has been shared by in previous lecture by Dr. Easy. Okay, maybe you can check again on that. All right. So on cost calculation will be the final process for the cost estimation. Okay, so basically cost estimation or site overheads cost will include um, any cost excluded under the first one, which is direct cost. Okay, so site management and supervision cost, anything relates to the site management and supervision will be included in this on cost. And then plant transportation cost, scaffolding for the temporary works, and then any other required facilities or accommodation will be included in this overhead cost, right? And at this process, usually the profit rate also will be included in the calculation. Okay, right. So the next one, I think, okay, so we are almost cover all of the subtopic. I think this is the final subtopic for the topic, for today's topic. All right. So far, everyone still okay? Okay. Are you still there? Okay, we have. All right. So we still have just a few more to be cover, right? Okay. So the next subtopic we have assessment and submission of cost estimating. All right. So this one related on the how the related parties do the assessment and so do the checking for the cost estimation or cost estimating, right? So these four elements includes estimate and adjustment. So they will do the assessment or checking on this estimate and adjustment, then proceed to the general overhead before they submit. They also check for the risk and profit allowances, right? And at the end, they're writing the bill for the submission, right? Okay, so for the first one, we try to briefly cover on these four. Okay. Okay, for the first one, assessment on the estimate and adjustment. It's basically what we call process or a stage where the if there is a requirement or there is a need for adjust the estimation value, so that one will be checked and will be adjust by the senior management. Okay, by the senior management who has what we call right or responsibility to do so, right? So that one will be checked and assessed by this party. Okay. And then for the general overhead, for the cost estimation, the company's budget to include forecast of general overhead. So mostly the company's budget try to provide the allocation for these general overheads. So they try to check whether the allocation is suitable or not, sufficient or not in terms of the costing. And then part of the assessment, they will monitor the company's turnover and expenditure, any expenditure in order to guide for the any modification of the allowance. Okay, so that's why they carry out with the assessment on this general overhead. All right, and then the next one we have. The third one we have risk and profit. Okay, for this assessment, the company will assess the preliminary items within the bill, work undertaken directly by contractor, subcontractor, and also nominated subcontractor works. Okay, so they will review, they will check again in terms of the allocation, in terms of the allowance or rates for the profit, so that here again they can assess any, they can try to predict any potential risk related to the financial allocation. Okay, so that's why this assessment is necessary to be conducted. Okay, so at the end they can foresee any risk occurrence, and then they can prepare with the contingency plan, right? Okay, the last one for the assessment and submission of cost estimation, they will writing the bill for submission. Okay, based on this bill, if rate for a bill item is increased, then the rate for another must be decreased, okay, in order to maintain the overall total. So at this stage, they try to make a balanced rate, so that at the end they will have a good overall total for the cost estimation. So they try to do to do the adjustment. Okay, they readjust all of the required item, so that they have a maintained overall total. Okay, so this adjustment we refer it as rate loading. Okay, it is known as rate loading. So basically this rate loading, the in terms of the purpose, the what we call, it requires basically for make extra money on bill items. Okay, estimator fails quantity underestimate in BQ, use they use the high rate. Okay, in case of variation order, they have the extra cash, okay, for any variation order. So that's why they need to do or to carry out this adjustment, right? So they will prepare with the any risk occurrence, and they also are prepared with their own contingency plan. So that's why they do this adjustment. All right, and then the other thing is that they want to, with the purpose to improve cash flow for project. Okay, raising rates of bill items of work completed earlier. Okay, so in terms of the cash flow, if they are able to increase or raise rates of bill item of work completed earlier, they are able to have a good cash flow for the project. Okay, so I think that's all for the subcontent or subtopic for risk and contingencies. Okay. We are ready for 36. So far, do you have anything to ask or anything to share? Is everything clear? Okay, because we have come to the end of the today's topic. Okay. I hope all of you can try to understand all of these principle, all of these process, so that it is easier for you uh, to answer the what we call the calculation. Okay, to prepare your own calculation. If you have a clear definition, if you have a clear view what's actually all of these term refers to. Okay. For today in overall we have covered on mostly on the cost estimation and how the all of this relates to the risk and contingencies. Okay. Later on, if you have the calculation parts by PM Azirudin, so hopefully all of you can manage to understand all of these terms, all of these components of cost estimating. Okay. I think if you all of you don't have anything to ask to clarify, then that's all for today. So before that, please scan your attendance. Let me share the QR code. Okay. You must scan the attendance, and by doing that, that's all for today. And thank you for your participation. Okay, hope to see you in our next class. Right?